Second place, no more for Tyler Reddick. Corey LaJoie spins, leading to some concern, and Kyle Larson goes for a spin himself, collecting multiple cars, 2 of which are in a very tight points battle around the cutoff line. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, my name is Taylor Kitchen and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line, where we do motorsports media your way, talking about NASCAR literally all the time. And yet again, we are racing in Michigan on a Monday. I feel like this is going to become the normal. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen next year, but the past few times we've been to Michigan, this has been a 23-11 win in the making. Unfortunately, though, due to pit road issues, on-track issues, etc., it just hasn't happened yet until today. Tyler Reddick crossed the start-finish line first, capturing his second win of the season, and with this win, he becomes the regular season points championship leader. Reddick had to survive a late race caution, which led to 2 overtime restarts to get this win, and beyond Tyler Reddick and the 23-11 team, which we'll get to in a second, this is a really big win for Toyota because going into this race, Ford had a win streak going on in the Irish Hills, 9 straight wins at the track. They were hoping to make it 10 today. Obviously did not happen, Toyota breaking that streak. Now for 23-11, I feel like we forget this team is in their 4th full-time year of competition, and to say that and have this team contend for race wins every single week and now a championship, it seems, with Tyler Reddick taking that regular season points title lead, is a very big deal. And though Tyler Reddick won the race and we're talking about him being the points leader right now, take a look at Bubba Wallace, who was competing side by side with Tyler Reddick for most of the start of this race until, unfortunately, he was caught up in an incident where Kyle Larson, on a restart, just got loose, spun around, and collected a lot of the field. Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, and Todd Gilliland did not finish this race due to that incident, including Kyle Larson himself. Also involved in this wreck, besides Bubba Wallace, who ended up finishing the race 26th, able to stay in the fight, was Chris Buescher. He is another one of those drivers, along with Wallace, who was in a tight points battle around that cutoff line. He sustained left front splitter damage from this. Last year's winner in Michigan, Chris Buescher, was actually able to recover very well from this, all things considered, and they made a questionable call during that last caution of the race where Martin Truex Jr. got into the wall to pit. They only took 2 tires. I thought this was a really odd call considering the leaders were staying out. I didn't know how this would work out for Chris Buescher, who then had to restart that first overtime finish outside the top 15. He raced his way into the top 10, finishing 6th. So the risk definitely paid off, and finishing right in front of him was Brad Keselowski in 5th. This rebound definitely helped his point standings heading into Daytona. Before this race, he was really close around the cutoff line. Now he has a bit of a gap, plus 16 to the good, while Chastain is now plus 1 and Wallace is minus 1. Chastain actually spun out in the first overtime. It was kind of a chain reaction of events where Denny Hamlin got to the back bumper of Alex Bowman, got him a little squirrely, kind of bunched up the rest of the field around them, and Chastain was unfortunately the guy that got the bad end of the stick there, spun out. He ended up finishing the race in 25th. If it wasn't for that, I do think Chastain would have had a better finish, would have had a better standing above that cutoff line. But again, when it comes to these crazy overtime restarts that we have, everyone has a chance to potentially go out and get the win, and you just have crazy things like that happen. So like I said, Tyler Reddick in first, and second we have William Byron, and this is the best I had seen that 24 car ride in a very long time. Good to see Byron running towards the front again and consistently during this Michigan race for sure. Then we have Ty Gibbs in third. He gave Tyler Reddick a great push during that last restart, so props to him. A win again is on the way for him. He's sitting really good above the cutoff line right now going into Daytona and Darlington, so just has to keep up that momentum, and they should be able to make the playoffs on points if there is another winner or 2. Then we have Brad Keselowski again in 5th, the Michigan native, just missing out on a Michigan win yet again. We've got Chris Buescher in 6th, and then 7th and 10th. I want to kind of jump around here. Zane Smith in 7th, his 3rd top 10 finish of his NASCAR Cup Series career. And then for Carson Hocevar in 10th. And this is the first time for Spire that they've had 2 cars finish inside the top 10 in a single race, a race that's not a drafting track, according to Jonathan Field. So a good stat there, good result for Spire, considering everything in between. So really good job for that organization today. And then of course the drivers in between there, 9th Daniel Suarez, back-to-back top 10s for the number 99. And in 9th, Denny Hamlin spinning out earlier in the race after trying to battle for that lead position with Bubba Wallace. So good recovery for for them there too. When talking about Spire, 2 of their cars were inside the top 10, not to mention Zane Smith did say that they had a speeding penalty in the race as well, so a good recovery for them. So the 77 and the 71 inside the top 10. What happened to the 7 of Corey LaJoie? Well, what happened to him raised a lot of concerns around the industry when his car flipped. On lap 137, LaJoie got to the back bumper of Noah Gragson. They'd been battling for position laps prior, and that contact got LaJoie sideways and almost instantly flipped him on his hood. He slid on his hood for quite a while until he caught the grass. It flipped his car over quite a few times before landing on his tires. This is the second time that the number 7 has been on its roof this season. Of course, earlier this year at Talladega, that wasn't a single car incident though. Remember, the field stacked together on that last restart, and just with how the cars were wedged together and wrecked together, it got LaJoie flipped on his hood. So unfortunate there. This is very odd though. It was a single car spin, all things considered, though there was that contact with Gragson, but that alone should not get a car on its hood, especially at Michigan. NASCAR puts so much time, energy, effort, money, etc. into making sure these cars are safe. And since the introduction of the Gen 7 car, it's come a long way safety-wise. This is just a really bizarre instance where everything seemed to be working properly. The hood flaps, the roof flaps went up. They did their job to try to keep the car on the ground, but it still didn't. And LaJoie did say that maybe it was the headwind that he was facing when he was going down the straightaway that helped this happen in a sense, but we still don't know. Of course, this has the garage shaking their heads, or I guess scratching their heads, I should say. Same with NASCAR, unsure of what really propelled the car to do this. Of course, with that said, I'm sure NASCAR is going to take a really close look at this, analyze it, see if there's anything preventative they can put on these cars, do with the safety of these cars, etc., to prevent this from happening. But at the end of the day, it could just be a really weird case of how the wind caught the car. But I'm sure these teams are concerned as we are heading into Daytona this Saturday. So hopefully NASCAR is able to analyze this in a timely fashion if possible and get back to the media, get back to the fans, get back to the drivers and teams on potentially what went down and if there's anything that they can do to help this in the future to prevent this. Corey LaJoie was released from the infield care center. Glad he is okay. And just, again, a very bizarre incident with the number 7 flipping at Michigan. So that's what happened during the Firekeepers Casino 400. Of course, again, this race moving to Monday because yet again, Michigan was plagued by rain. 2022, we were able to get the race in on Sunday. It wasn't without a delay though. Last year though, and this year we had to move the race to the next day, and that just hurts the fan experience. Of course, we can't control Mother Nature. NASCAR can't control it. Call or say, hey, can you hold off until Monday? We can't do that. I wish we could, but we can't. But regardless, you're hurting the fan experience, and with the time the race is in Michigan, it also hurts when the rain is coming in as well. If we would have gotten this race in, or at least started around 1, we probably could have had a better chance of getting halfway, because by the time we had that final red flag of the day and waited things out, it was pretty good. However, though, Michigan doesn't have lights, so we couldn't have raced into the evening anyways and get into the second half of the race. So unfortunate there. So my whole thing is hopefully next year with the TV deal, with the 2025 schedule, with some streaming, it can help some of these races that we know have issues with rain, weather, etc., get moved earlier into the day, because I think a 1 p.m. start time, if possible, would have helped completely. From somebody who had family that was at the track this year and had gone to the track last year and the year before, also with the rain and the way this race is scheduled, doesn't really make people want to go back, because at this point they've gone through 3 seasons now of getting rain delay tickets pushed to either the Michigan race next year or trying to go to another non-SMI owned track with how the race tickets are with weather related postponements for Michigan and other tracks that are owned over there. But that said, they're going to be missing out on some great action if they don't go back in 2025, because Michigan is such an underrated track. I love it to pieces. It is so fast, so fun. Yes, there is calamity, and that's not great at all. But did you see the move that Bubba Wallace made on Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson earlier in the race to get the lead? That's fun. Kyle Larson did the same thing earlier than Bubba Wallace did to get the lead for himself. And it is a track that just produces such fun and quick action. Again, highly underrated. Something else I appreciated about this race is that tire strategy actually seemed to matter more than it had in the past at Michigan, which made it fun. Obviously, fuel strategy is always in play in the Irish Hills. All of that said though, this race was fun. I had a great time, left me on the edge of my seat. It's just a really good track that produces a great product. I'm giving this race an 85%, which is definitely above the yellow line. That does it from Michigan International Speedway. What did you think of the race? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, this Saturday, they are racing at Daytona, the second to last race in the regular season. It should be a crazy one. Fingers crossed the weather holds up. But for more NASCAR news, make sure to go to TobyChristieCom. And of course, for more creative content and more about us, make sure you go to AboveTheYellowLine.com. Of course, going live this Thursday night with Ryan Vargas. We're going to catch up with him. So make sure to tune into that on the TobyChristieCom YouTube channel and social media platforms. Thank you all so much for tuning into this episode of Above the Yellow Line. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with your friends and family. And until next time, everybody, I'll see ya. Bye.